The year was 1921 when Canadian scientist Frederick G. Banting and his student Charles Best finally extracted insulin from a dog's pancreas for therapeutic purposes. The discovery of insulin marked the breakthrough for many suffering from the incurable condition known as diabetes. The discovery became a turning point in the history of medicine as it transformed the lives of many and gave diabetic patients hope to live.
There is a long history of the disease that Banting and his fellow scientists created a medicine for, diabetes. Diabetes, or diabetes mellitus, is a devastating disease in which the pancreas does not make enough insulin or the cells in the body become unresponsive to the insulin's effects. The pancreas is an organ in the digestive system that helps control insulin, which is a hormone vital for maintaining stable blood sugar levels. Diabetes has been present for centuries, and the earliest description of diabetes came from ancient Egypt as early as 1550 BC in the Eborus papyrus. Diabetes and its treatments were then stated in the ancient Indian medicinal text, the Ayurveda, around 1500 BC. Then, in the 2nd century AD, a Greek surgeon named Artaeus of Cappadocia devised the term diabetes, meaning to pass through, as he noted that diabetes causes a constant flow of urine. In the 1000s, a Persian polymath named Avicenna described diabetes in full detail and explained its different complications and said that different seeds could treat diabetes, but only for a short amount of time. The next important discovery in the advancement of diabetes occurred in 1869 when a German physiologist named Paul Langerhans first described and isolated a cluster of cells in the pancreas that were subsequently found to secrete insulin. This was known as the islets of Langerhans. The islets of Langerhans laid the foundation for the discovery of insulin, and this was when insulin began to be known. Then, in 1889, two German physiologists named Oskar Minkowski and Joseph von Mering started to build on Langerhans' work. Their experiments consisted of removing the pancreas of a laboratory dog. Once they did this, they discovered that the dog developed a disease indistinguishable from diabetes. This was when they knew that there was a connection between the pancreas and insulin, resulting in diabetes. Because of this newfound knowledge, physicians and doctors tried to find the best treatments for this disease. Surgeons Frederick Madison Allen and Elliot Jocelyn prescribed fasting and calorie-restricted diets for diabetic patients. These calorie-restricted diets were more commonly known as starvation diets, as the people who were on them barely ate anything. All diabetics were also advised to decrease their sugar and digestible starch intake, and those who were obese were advised to lose weight. This resulted in mild improvement of symptoms such as the incidence of a diabetic coma among children. Although the calorie-restricted diet and decreased carbohydrate intake improved the symptoms, it only increased life expectancy by a few months. Because of all these diets were only working for a short amount of time, somebody needed to find a way to make a longer-lasting, stronger medicine to fight diabetes.
Well-established diabetics would not live long. They would die within 3 to 7 days, generally speaking, because of ketoacidosis, an terminal event in the metabolic derangement of the carbohydrate metabolism.
The discovery of insulin began in 1920 by a Canadian physician named Frederick Grant Banting. He was working as a demonstrator at a medical school in London, Toronto. He found a magazine called Surgery, Gynecology, and Obstetrics while preparing for a presentation and read an article about the islets of Langerhans and pancreatic lithiasis. Reading this article lit a light bulb in Banting's head and he came up with an idea. His idea was to extract insulin from a dog's pancreas, which then he could use on a human subject and see if it would decrease glucose levels. Later that year, Banting approached Scottish physiologist John James Rickard MacLeod at the University of Toronto about his thoughts on insulin and diabetes. After much persistence and persuasion, Banting got MacLeod to give him materials. MacLeod gave Banting a lab, a student assistant, and some laboratory dogs. In May of 1921, 29-year-old Frederick G. Banting and his assistant, 22-year-old Charles Best, who was also a student at the University of Toronto at the time, started their research on Banting's idea. Later that year, they were able to successfully extract insulin. This was a historical discovery that could change the way millions of people with diabetes lived, but it wasn't over yet. The two scientists still had a lot of work to do. They invited a biochemist at the University of Toronto, James Bertram Culp, to help them with the research. J.J.R. Macleod decided to actively help as well. Their goal now was to purify insulin so it could be used on humans. After multiple repeated experiments, they were finally able to purify it enough to test on the human subject. That human subject was a 14-year-old Canadian boy named Leonard Thompson who was fatally ill with diabetes in the Toronto General Hospital. In January of 1922, the scientists gave Thompson the first dose of insulin ever given to a human, and within 24 hours, Thompson's drastically high blood sugar levels dropped. This was when Banting knew he had succeeded. In 1923, he and Macleod earned the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. However, knowing Best's contribution and hard work in this pursuit, Banting shared his earnings with Best. Banting was later knighted by King George V in 1934 for his important and historic contributions to society.
The world changed dramatically after the discovery of insulin. Once they discovered it, Banting, Best, MacLeod, and Collins sold the insulin patent to the medical firm Eli Lilly for only $1. They did this because they thought it was unethical to gain profit from a discovery that could save lives. According to Banting, quote, "Insulin belongs to the world, not me," unquote. After they sold the patent, Eli Lilly started large-scale insulin production. In 1941, tablets for testing glucose levels in urine became available. Soon after that, the insulin syringe was produced, which reduced dosing errors, and that is what everybody would use to treat diabetes. But there was a problem. The majority of insulin extract came from cattle and pigs, and that caused allergies in many patients. So, a company called Genentech made the first genetically engineered synthetic human insulin using E. coli bacteria. It was produced in 1978, and Eli Lilly commercialized this new type of insulin in 1982, calling it Humulin. Then, in 1985, the insulin pen was invented. This had a dial on it to control how much insulin was being injected into the body. Today, people use insulin pumps that are attached to their body to transfer insulin. Even after all these technological advancements, scientists are still researching and learning more and more about how insulin works and how to make it an even more effective medicine in treating diabetes. The discovery of insulin was a turning point in history for many ways. People, especially children, could start to live normal, healthy lives with the help of daily insulin shots. The death rate due to diabetes also dramatically lowered because the disease wouldn't negatively affect other parts of the body, which would be fatal. People no longer had to stay on harsh calorie-restricted diets like Alvin and Jospin's, which meant they didn't have to be as careful with what they ate. People also started to do insulin therapy, which is a way to help keep blood sugar levels under control and reduce diabetic complications. It has helped so many people by giving them more freedom, the ability to do the things they enjoy, and a wider variety of job opportunities. It has also made way for more technological advancements in the field of diabetes and insulin, exponentially increasing the well-being of diabetics.
The blindness is gone. Laser and VGF factors have treated that. Trying to bring a substance called hemoglobin A1C back into the normal range has been able to protect people from complications of the disease. So we are living longer with diabetes. We are able to protect them from heart attacks and strokes by using proper medicines or bypass surgery, etc. So a lot of good things have happened too.
Since the 1900s, the incidence of diabetes in the world has been increasing constantly. According to the CDC, in the US alone, 38.4 million people are diagnosed with diabetes, which makes up 11.6% of the US population. The worldwide population of people diagnosed is 463 million. This rapid increase is mainly due to obesity and physical inactivity. Obesity relates to calorie increase, reducing the amount of insulin that gets to the body. Physical inactivity also reduces the movement of insulin and blood sugar levels, which will result in diabetes. With the rapid increase of diabetics, insulin is becoming more and more vital to the people who need it to survive.
All in all, the discovery of insulin has truly revolutionized and transformed the way diabetics live their lives. Without this life changing medicine, our world and the people who strive in it would never be the same.